I've spent decades looking into people's eyes, not metaphorically, literally, through a slit lamp, through an ophthalmoscope, through the kind of instruments that let you peer into the back of the human eye and see something that most people never get to witness in their lifetime. A living, breathing piece of the central nervous system, exposed and vulnerable, doing its quiet, extraordinary work in near total darkness. And what I've come to understand, after more than 30 years in clinical practice and eye health research, is that the retina holds a secret that most people aren't told. Not because doctors are hiding it, but because the conversation almost never gets there. We're too busy talking about lenses, prescriptions, surgeries. We write the number on the pad, hand over the glasses, and move on. But there's something bigger happening, and if you're over 60 or approaching it, this conversation might be the most important one you have about your health this year. Let me start with something that might surprise you. Most people assume that losing your vision as you age is just part of the deal, a natural, inevitable consequence of getting older, like gray hair or stiff joints. And I understand why people think that, because they watch their parents struggle to read the menu at a restaurant, or see their spouse squinting at the television with the brightness turned all the way up, or notice themselves suddenly needing to hold their phone at arm's length, and they assume this is just how it goes. But here's what I want you to hear clearly. Visual decline is not entirely inevitable. The degree to which your vision deteriorates as you age is heavily influenced by what is happening inside your eye at the cellular level, and that in many cases can be shaped, supported, and protected. The retina is one of the most metabolically active tissues in the entire human body. Think about that for a moment. More active than muscle tissue, more demanding per unit of weight than almost any other organ. It requires a constant, uninterrupted supply of oxygen, glucose, and, critically, specific nutrients to function correctly. And when those nutrients are missing, when oxidative stress accumulates, when inflammation begins to quietly build, the retina starts to pay the price. What does that price look like? Let me be specific, because I think specificity matters here. After the age of 60, 3 interconnected processes begin to accelerate inside the eye. The first is oxidative stress. The retina is exposed to light all day, every day, and light generates free radicals, unstable molecules that damage cellular structures. In a younger, well-nourished eye, antioxidant defenses neutralize those free radicals efficiently. But as we age, those defenses weaken, and oxidative damage accumulates in the photoreceptors, the cells responsible for converting light into the electrical signals your brain interprets as vision. The second process is chronic low-grade inflammation. You've probably heard of systemic inflammation, the kind linked to heart disease and metabolic disorders. The same thing happens in the eye. Silent, painless, progressive, inflammatory molecules gradually degrade the delicate architecture of the macula, the central region of the retina responsible for sharp, detailed vision. The third is what clinicians call age-related macular degeneration, and alongside it, the progressive opacification of the lens, what most people know as cataracts. These aren't random events. They're the downstream consequences of years of oxidative damage and nutritional insufficiency that were never addressed. And yet, when most people sit down with their eye doctor, the conversation centers almost entirely on corrective lenses, stronger prescription, anti-reflective coating, maybe a referral to a specialist when things get serious enough. Nutrition, specific targeted retinal nutrition, rarely enters the conversation. I want to change that, because the evidence is there, the research is solid, and people deserve to know. I've seen patients in their early 60s who already describe difficulty reading text messages on their phones without turning up the brightness. I've had patients tell me they've stopped driving at night because the headlights of oncoming cars scatter into halos and streaks that make the road feel dangerous. I've sat across from people in their late 60s who speak quietly about the fear, and it is a fear, even when they don't name it directly, that the blurred patches they're noticing at the center of their vision are the beginning of something they cannot stop. That fear is real, and I take it seriously, because it's not irrational. It's based on watching people they love lose their independence, their ability to read, to recognize faces, to drive themselves to appointments. It's based on lived experience of what vision loss actually looks like from the inside. If you find yourself nodding at any of this, if you're noticing changes in your vision, sensitivity to light, difficulty with contrast, blurriness that wasn't there 5 years ago, I want you to know that there is a conversation worth having, and that conversation goes deeper than what most people expect. If you want to understand how to improve your vision naturally, reduce blurred vision, protect yourself from cataracts, and learn which vitamins truly support eye health, we've left a complete guide in the first link in the description. Everything I'm about to explain and more is laid out there for you in practical, accessible detail. Now, let me tell you about the retina's truth. The macula, the central zone of the retina, contains a remarkable layer of pigment made up of two carotenoid compounds, lutein and zeaxanthin. These aren't abstract scientific concepts. They are physical pigments, visible under certain imaging tools, and they serve a direct protective function. They absorb high-energy blue light before it reaches the photoreceptors beneath. They act as internal antioxidants, neutralizing free radicals at the exact site where oxidative damage is most dangerous. And here is what the research has shown repeatedly, including in large clinical trials like the AREDS-2 study conducted by the National Eye Institute. People with higher concentrations of macular pigment, higher lutein and zeaxanthin levels, have significantly lower rates of age-related macular degeneration progression. This is not alternative medicine. This is ophthalmology. Beyond lutein and zeaxanthin, the retina depends on vitamin E to protect the fatty membranes of photoreceptor cells from lipid peroxidation. It depends on zinc, a mineral that is highly concentrated in the retinal tissue and plays a direct role in the function of enzymes that protect against oxidative damage. It depends on omega-3 fatty acids, specifically DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, which makes up a substantial portion of the outer segment membranes of rod photoreceptors. And it is supported by a broad spectrum of polyphenolic antioxidants that reduce systemic and ocular inflammation. The fascinating thing, and this is what I've been studying more closely in recent years, is that all of these nutrients are found naturally in seeds, ordinary seeds, available in any grocery store that most people walk past without a second thought. Chia seeds are among the richest plant-based sources of omega-3 fatty acids available. 2 tablespoons contain more ALA, the precursor to DHA, than most people consume in a week. They also deliver fiber, magnesium, and anti-inflammatory compounds that support the vascular health of the choroid, the blood-rich layer beneath the retina responsible for nourishing the photoreceptors. Flax seeds carry a similar omega-3 profile and additionally contain lignans, plant compounds with significant antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. Research has linked regular flaxseed consumption to reductions in inflammatory markers throughout the body, which matters for the eye because the same inflammatory pathways that damage joints and arteries also damage retinal tissue. Sunflower seeds are one of the most concentrated dietary sources of vitamin E available to us. Just a quarter cup provides nearly the full recommended daily intake of this critical fat-soluble antioxidant. Given that vitamin E's primary role in the eye is protecting the lipid-rich membranes of photoreceptors from oxidative degradation, this is not a trivial nutritional contribution, and pumpkin seeds, and often overlooked, are extraordinarily rich in zinc. A single serving contains a meaningful portion of the daily requirement for this mineral, which the retina uses in greater concentration than virtually any other tissue in the body. Zinc is required for the activity of superoxide dismutase, one of the body's primary antioxidant enzymes within the retinal tissue. Without adequate zinc, the retina's own defense systems are compromised at a fundamental level. I want to be precise about something here, because I think precision matters, and I have no interest in overstating what the science supports. These seeds are not a cure. They are not a treatment for diagnosed eye disease. They will not reverse advanced macular degeneration or dissolve a cataract that has already formed. If you have a clinical diagnosis, you need to be working with a physician. What they are is this: strategic nutritional support for the aging eye. They deliver, in bioavailable form, the exact compounds that the retina is most vulnerable to losing as we age. They address the nutritional deficits that, over years and decades, contribute to the acceleration of the very processes I described earlier: oxidative stress, inflammation, macular degradation. Eating these seeds regularly is not a dramatic intervention. It's a quiet, consistent act of care for one of the most important organs in your body. And the evidence suggests that this kind of care, begun early enough and maintained consistently, can meaningfully influence the trajectory of your visual health as you age. And if you're ready to take control of your eye health, we've organized everything, including how to reduce blurred vision, avoid cataract progression, and maintain clear eyesight after 60, in the first link in the description. It's a practical, detailed guide built on the same science I've spent my career studying, made accessible for anyone who wants to be proactive about protecting their vision. So what is the truth about the retina that so few people mention? It is this. The retina ages, yes. There is no stopping that process entirely. But aging and degeneration are not the same thing. The rate at which your retinal tissue accumulates damage, the degree to which your macular pigment is preserved, the health of your photoreceptors at 65 or 70 or 75. These are not fixed outcomes written into your genetics. They are outcomes that your daily nutritional choices influence consistently over time. The cones and rods in your retina are doing extraordinary work right now as you watch this. They are converting photons into electrical impulses with a precision that no human-engineered camera has ever matched. And they need to be fed. They need the antioxidants to fight oxidative damage. They need the zinc to support their enzymatic defenses. They need the omega-3s to maintain the integrity of their membranes. They need the lutein and zeaxanthin that only the diet can provide, because the body cannot synthesize them on its own. Clear vision after 60 is not simply about the right glasses prescription. It is about protecting the living tissue behind the lens, day by day, meal by meal, with the nutrients that the retina was always designed to receive and rarely gets enough of in the modern diet. That's what I've learned. That's what I've watched in patients who made these changes early and those who didn't. And that's what I believe every person over 50 deserves to hear. If this conversation opens something for you, a question, a concern, a motivation to look more carefully at what your eyes might need, then I want you to stay connected. Subscribe to this channel, because this is exactly the kind of conversation we have here, regularly. Not prescriptions, not fear. Science, translated into real, usable knowledge for real people navigating real changes in their health. There's more coming, on the specific nutrients the aging eye needs most, on how to read the early warning signs that most people miss, on the intersection of metabolic health and vision that almost no one talks about. I'll see you in the next one.